Imagine arriving somewhere, and the very first thing you see is a sign promising freedom. Not hope, not survival. Freedom. But the catch is you only leave through smoke. In occupied Poland, above the iron gates of Auschwitz, hung the words Arbeit, macht, frei. Work makes you free. It might be the most chilling slogan in human history because inside that camp, work did not free you. Work erased you. Welcome to History versus Event. Before we step inside one of the darkest places humans ever built, take 2 seconds, subscribe, and click the notifications bell icon. Because history is not just battles and generals, sometimes it's what happens when power runs out of morality. January 1945. Soviet troops advance across Poland. They reach a sprawling complex surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. They expect a military installation. Instead, they find skeletons wearing striped cloth. This was Auschwitz. Not a single camp, but a system. A machine. 3 main camps working together like gears in a factory. WWII, the administrative center. Auschwitz II, Birkenau, the killing site. And Auschwitz III, Monowitz, a forced labor complex feeding German industry. Over 1 million people would die here. And here's the terrifying part. Many did not die immediately. They were punished first. The horror actually began before prisoners even entered the barracks. New arrivals stepped off cattle cars after days without food or water. Families were separated in seconds. A doctor's hand gesture decided life or death. Left meant forced labor. Right meant gas chambers. The ones selected for labor believed they had survived. They had not. The first punishment was identity removal. Heads were shaved. Personal belongings confiscated. Names erased. In Auschwitz, you were no longer a person, you were a number tattooed into your skin. Imagine the psychology. The Nazis understood that if you destroy someone's identity, resistance collapses faster than the body. Clothing followed. Striped uniforms, often wrong sizes. Shoes that didn't fit. Blisters turned to infected wounds. Prisoners slept in the same clothing they worked in, through freezing winters and muddy summers. Hygiene was nearly impossible. Disease did the rest. Typhus, dysentery, starvation. And here is the brutal efficiency. The camp didn't always need executions. Conditions themselves became punishment. The Nazis even had a phrase, extermination through labor. You worked until you collapsed. When you collapsed, you were removed. When removed, you disappeared. But daily life in Auschwitz came with rules, absurdly strict rules. And breaking them triggered penalties. Stealing a potato? Punishment. Stopping to rest for a moment? Punishment. Adjusting clothing? Punishment. Trying to get extra soup? Punishment. Even attempting suicide and surviving? Punishment. Yes, in a place designed to kill you, failing to die correctly could still get you punished. The center of this terror system was Block 11, often called the prison inside the prison. Block 11 was where discipline happened. Inside were standing cells, tiny compartments, barely 1 square meter. Prisoners were forced inside, for at a time. They couldn't sit. They couldn't lie down. They could barely breathe. And they remained there overnight, then were sent to forced labor in the morning. Imagine working all day after spending the night upright in a human closet. Some prisoners endured this for days. Others never came out. There were starvation cells, no food, minimal water. There were dark cells, complete isolation. And in the courtyard beside Block 11 stood a wall known as the Black Wall. That was the execution site. Thousands were shot there. But execution was not the only violence. Guards often improvised cruelty. Beatings were routine. Prisoners could receive lashes on a wooden whipping bench. The victim had to count each strike aloud in German. If they fainted or miscounted, the beating restarted. The punishment wasn't just physical, it was humiliation engineered into the procedure. Certain guards became infamous. Some used dogs trained to attack prisoners. Others selected victims randomly. Survival depended not just on strength, but luck. And then there was Birkenau. If Auschwitz was the administrative heart, Birkenau was the industrial core. 4 crematoria with gas chambers operated there. Victims were told they were going to showers. They were ordered to undress and remember where they placed their clothes, a detail designed to keep panic down. Then the doors closed. Zyklon B pellets were dropped through openings in the ceiling. Within minutes, oxygen vanished. Panic followed. Then silence. But one of the cruelest punishments in the entire camp system was reserved for a specific group, the Sonderkommando. These were prisoners forced to work inside the gas chamber process. They escorted victims inside. Afterward, they removed bodies, cut hair, extracted gold teeth, and transported remains to crematoria. They were not collaborators. They were hostages with temporary survival. And the Nazis ensured no witnesses. Sonderkommando units were periodically executed and replaced. Meanwhile, in another part of the camp, Block 10 held something equally horrifying: medical experiments. SS Dr. Joseph Mengele worked there. His obsession: twins and genetic anomalies. Prisoners were injected with chemicals, exposed to infections, and subjected to surgeries without anesthesia. Some experiments attempted to alter eye color. Others mutilated children in pseudoscientific attempts to study heredity. Many victims died during procedures. Others were killed afterward for examination. The purpose was not medicine. It was ideology disguised as science. The camp functioned like a system of punishments layered on top of each other. Starvation punished the body. Isolation punished the mind. Forced labor punished endurance. Violence punished disobedience. And the gas chambers punished existence itself. By the time Auschwitz was liberated in January 1945, the Nazis had attempted to destroy evidence. Many prisoners were marched westward in what became known as death marches. Thousands died on the roads. When Soviet soldiers arrived, they found warehouses filled with shoes, eyeglasses, suitcases, and human hair. The belongings of people who never left. Auschwitz wasn't chaotic cruelty. That's the disturbing truth. It was organized. Paperwork, schedules, assignments, bureaucracy. The punishments were not accidents, they were policy. And that's why historians often say Auschwitz represents the industrialization of death, a place where cruelty was managed like production, and human beings were processed as if they were raw material. More than 1.1 million people were murdered in this complex. But the survivors, the few who endured starvation, beatings, disease, forced labor, and psychological torture, became witnesses. Their testimonies revealed what the barbed wire had tried to hide. Auschwitz shows something uncomfortable about history. Evil is not always loud. Sometimes it is organized, signed, stamped, and scheduled. And sometimes the most horrifying punishment isn't the execution, it's being forced to live inside a system designed to slowly erase you. Thank you for watching.